Welcome to Karen Podcast with me, Novia Karen. Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope that you guys are doing fine just like me. This is my first podcast, so welcome to the house. Alright, what are you doing right now, guys? Are you busy about your a lot of activity, or you guys just chill out right now? Before that, I just want to remind you guys to wear mask and bring sanitizer everywhere you go. Because of this bad and nasty virus can lurking and infect you. Okay, according to the title listed in this podcast, we will discuss about name calling. Before we go for furthermore, I would like to share my experience. Since last week, I was busy to open my old folder in my laptop. And also I stalked my friend on my old Facebook, and actually it is my junior high friend and also the folder that have many photos of our past. But when I opened the folder, I remembered that I have a friend, but sorry before I don't want to mention his name. If I'm not mistaken, when I was at grade 9, he was my classmate. I strongly remember that he had, sorry before, square face shape, so my friends called him with Kota or sometimes Adudu. If you guys watch a cartoon movie, you guys should be familiar with Bobo Boy. So, Bobo Boy has a rival called Adudu. Adudu is an alien and he wants to steal cocoa powder to build up the energy. His face is square and he is green. I think almost all of his body is green, so that's why this guy called Adudu or Kota. Sometimes I called him with his name calling because this guy rather stubborn and naughty. I know this is my bad, guys, so you must not to follow my habit, yeah? I still remember that he was being angry and not comfortable sometimes. But I still asking with myself, is he just fine with it or maybe he wants to be angry but he afraid to attack them back? This had made me curious recently. Related to the last topic of my critical reading and writing topic, I searched and browsed about name calling and this is related to the bullying. After I do it, many sites mention that nicknames or name calling are classified as a form of bullying. Wow, I was completely stunned because I had been bullying my classmates without realizing it before. We all know that calling someone by a special nickname is a common approach by some Indonesian people. Although, did you know that this can become bullying behavior when the name is harassing someone? According to the Very Well Family site, I think this is the best site that I have find before. Name calling is one of the most damaging and painful types of bullying. Name calling makes it difficult for victims to trust their perception about themselves. Here are some other ways young people are affected by name calling. The first effect of name calling is name calling can erode a victim's sense of self. Over time, name calling and other insults can slowly eat away at self-esteem and the victim will no longer see herself realistically. For instance, if a girl is regularly called fat, she may view herself as overweight even after she loses weight. This type of distorted body image is often the beginning stage of an eating disorder. The second effect is name-calling causes kids to compromise their beliefs and values. When kids are insulted for having certain beliefs or values, this name-calling may cause them to bend to peer pressure and compromise their beliefs in order to escape the bullying. For example, a teen that is called a goody-goody may try to shake this image by doing things that go against her belief system as he tries to prove she is not always a goody-goody girl. The third is, name-calling affects a victim's sense of well-being. Name-calling causes noticeable changes in personality and behavior for those impacted. For instance, teen victims may be more tearful, hostile, or withdrawn. They also may invent excuses to avoid school and lose interest in outside activities. What's more, victims are often dissatisfied with life. They also may struggle with feelings or loneliness and despair. The next effect of name-calling is it can impact a person's identity. When a bully calls another person a name, they are attempting to control how others see the person. For instance, a bully may call someone stupid. This name-calling is usually done in front of others and is meant to encourage others to view the person as stupid as well. If the name-calling is repeated over time, others, including the target, may begin to associate the word stupid with that person. And eventually, that hurtful label can become a part of who that person is. The next effect of name-calling is it can open the door violence. In severe cases, bullies who call others names often will act on their anger and lash out in a physical way. Instead, if your child is being called names at school, bring it to the attention of the teacher or the principal. Many hate crimes begin the name-calling. Never ignore name-calling. That's the good quote, I guess. The sixth effect is encourages internal criticisms. Name-calling often leads targets to take on the names as reality. As a result, they begin to criticize themselves instead. For instance, if a person is called a loser, their internal voice will learn to call them as a loser as well when they make mistakes. The problem is that this inner voice is hard to switch off and it is not very objective. The next is, name-calling can impact your mood. It is important to remember that sudden changes in mood can sometimes signal that bullying is taking place. Never ignore a child's changes in mood or write them off as hormonal until you have determined why they appear sullen, angry, or distant. Changes in behavior, sleeping habits, and moods should always be considered the worst warning signs that something is wrong. It is not uncommon for victims of name-calling and other types of bullying to experience anxiety and depression. If your child shows a change in mood, have him evaluated a doctor right away. The next impact of name-calling is it can affect mental health. Name-calling can have serious consequences on mental health. In fact, researchers feel it is one of the most damaging forms of bullying. For instance, some victims become so depressed from the name-calling that they begin to feel worthless, helpless, and out of control. Some victims may even contemplate suicide. If your child talks about death or wanting to die, do not ignore his comments. Have your child evaluated by a medical professional right away. Okay, this is the last but not least, the effect of name-calling, but I suggest you guys to take it seriously. Name-calling can affect physical health. Often, when kids are called names, their physical health will be compromised. In addition to having trouble eating or sleeping, they also may complain of an upset stomach and dizzy. Additionally, some victims may develop post-traumatic stress disorder, ulcers, or other stress-related conditions. Alright guys, we have discussed 9 effects of name calling so far. When I read before record this podcast, I got goosebumps and regretting my old habits to call my friend with his or her name calling. By the way, this was one of my experience of name calling when I was at junior high school. That was the most memorable thing for me. But I do not know about my friend now, but I still remember that he had a goal to be a policeman. I hope that his goal will come true for the future, yeah? How is it, guys? For me, I realized that name calling can be more harmful and can be a serious thing if we always so accustomed to always do it again and again. In conclusion, calling someone by a special nickname is one of the bullying unwittingly. It can raise bad impacts for the victim, so we need to keep the other's feeling by calling their original name. Name calling is one of the most painful types of bullying kids can experience. For this reason, it is very important that parents never downplay what their kids are feeling or tell them to just ignore it. Okay guys, I couldn't give you 4 specific tips to ignore and deny about name calling. Although now, we can start to call someone with their own lovely name that already given by his or her parents. If we do not want to be hurt, do not hurt other people then. My name is Novia Karen. See you on the next session in Karen Podcast. Ciao!